Hello everyone and welcome to week 9 of English 120. So this week you're going to start as usual by watching the lecture, and I really do appreciate those of you who are checking in with me about it. It's nice to know that you're watching these because this is the only way I have to convey the information for our course, and it's really important that you watch them. So great job. This week we're going to be continuing to read Charmian Kittredge London's book, The Log of the Snark. This section, pages 84 to 138, takes place in the Marquesian Islands. Now, we talked a little bit about those in our discussion forum from last week, but this is a set of islands that Melville wrote about, and in a real, I guess, pretty much a fictional way, where he made all of the natives out to be cannibals and made a big deal. And, the idea of feasting on your enemies was called eating long pig. And what Charmian and Jack see when they get there, and he also Melville really made the people of Taipei seem like they were like extraordinarily beautiful, and he over exaggerated a lot of details. But when Charmian and Jack got there, they saw immediately the effects of colonization. Now, the Marquesian Islands, since the time of Melville in his visit, had been visited by business people who had set up plantations and who had enslaved the natives to work on those plantations. And so they'd also spread disease to the island. And so what they found on the Marquesian Islands when they got there was not this paradise with these gorgeous people. They saw a lot of sick people. And they began to realize, they didn't realize yet, but they began to realize some of the preset ideas they had about the islands, about the Marquesian Islands at least, that Melville gave them, weren't actually true. But they did get to follow in the footsteps of one of their greatest heroes, Robert Louis Stevenson. This is your little Easter egg in this lecture. I do want to offer you 10 points extra credit if you visit the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum. It's located in St. Helena. You can look it up online and make a visit and just write me an email with a 2-paragraph response that talks about your visit and how it connects to what we're studying in this class. And you get 10 points extra credit just like that. So if you're interested in extra credit, this is a great opportunity for you. All right, so after you read Log of the Snark, please participate in the discussion forum. I'll go over those questions in just a little bit. You're going to be completing Module 9 and taking the quiz by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. as usual. And the next stage of your writing, your research project is due this coming Sunday, St. Patrick's Day, at 11:59 p.m. So let's talk a little more about Log of the Snark, pages 84 to 138. This week, I would like you to, after you read, please make sure that you actively read. So if you see words while you're reading that you don't understand or you're not familiar with, please look them up. Or places, kind of what we did in the last section together, that annotation. I expect you to do that on your own. And the final is based on this book, just so you know. So please don't fall behind on these discussion forums. They're each worth 10 points. And the idea is you steadily read this so we can discuss it while you're reading it. But remember, if you do fall behind in this class, you need to just talk to me. I am very available. I'm in my office Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12:30 and from 1:30 to 3. When I'm also available to talk to you on the phone at other times if those times don't work for you and you can't come to campus. So you can always reach out if you have questions. So after you read the Log of the Snark, What I'd like you to do is answer the questions listed below. I'll go over those in a second. And then respond to your peers' posts. Remember, respond to 3 of your peers' posts, and really respond how did they answer these things differently? What are they seeing that you're not seeing in the text? Or connect it to something else. Take the conversation further. So the first question: how does Charmian Kittredge London, that's what CKL stands for, first describe the Marquesian Islands when they see them from the Snark? Explain this quotation. Quote, "I long to be a man, to take some active part, but they don't let me do much." And that's on page 85. What festivities does Charmian witness on pages 92 to 97? What is Long Pig? How does her writing reveal she feels about the natives they've encountered so far? Explain these 2 quotations. "The little that is left of the race is perishing, and it is not a pretty process." And that's on page 90. And "here were our first Marquesians, and hardly a pure breed among them." And that's on page 89. What do Jack and Charmian find in Taipei when they are finally able to get there? How is it different from what they expected based on what they had read in Melville's account? What did they find in the Humi Valley? What did they learn about Robert Louis Stevenson from Mrs. Fisher and her father, Herr Golitz? Why do the native women gawk at Charmian's trousers and the fact that she rides her horse astride? Remember, astride, side saddle is the proper way that ladies rode, where they're sitting sideways on the saddle. Astride is just regular horseback riding. How does Charmian feel about this? Why do Jack and Charmian leave the Norwegian captain when he is cutting apart the Tatura? That's on pages 100 to 101. Why are Jack and Charmian buying and collecting artifacts? What do they collect? How is their collection of objects different from that of the Norwegian, whom Charmian despises? Or is it different? At the end of this section, where are Jack and Charmian headed on their next voyage? And how do they feel when they leave the Marquesian Islands? All right, as always, please quote the pages that you're referring to in your answers, and try to make it into a discussion by, connecting with your peers. Your post is due by Friday at 11:59 p.m., and you need to respond to at least 3 of your peers' posts by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. All right, guys, we're moving on to the research project. Very exciting. We're moving on to the next one, the outline of the research project. This is the next step before we start actually writing the paper. So next week, we're going to start composing body paragraphs and creating our thesis statement. So a lot of work is going to be happening between this and next week. I may be pushing back the body paragraphs to week 11 because I feel like we might need a little more time. But I have to say I was really impressed with many of your annotated bibliographies. You're doing great. So just stick with it. Keep going to the library. Please keep putting in the work, and we will get there. So just to talk to you about what happens now that you have a research question, right? So now you know basically the question you're going to answer with your thesis. If you have a really good research question, that's the idea. So when you compose your paper, usually you're going to start by writing the body paragraphs, and that's why we have that happening before we write the introductions and conclusions and the flow. But I want to talk to you about the whole structure of your research paper. So your introduction, which is talked about on page 239 in our book, should always begin with a hook. A hook is a place where you ask the reader a question, or you tell a story, or you lead with some sort of a quotation. And I'll talk more about this when we're writing our actual introductions, but if you're interested in looking at this, it's on pages 241 to 242. In your introduction, you're also going to introduce your topic. You're going to give a really good, concise history about your topic, detailed. And then you're going to state your thesis. And we'll be talking about creating a thesis next week. But if you want to jump ahead to chapter 12, Your thesis will have your topic and then the purpose, what you're arguing. Your thesis should always answer your prompt. So you're going to have multiple body paragraphs. And in these body paragraphs, several of them are going to develop subtopics that prove your thesis. Each body paragraph should clearly cover a subtopic and relate, or group of body paragraphs, and relate the subtopic back to your thesis. And each subtopic is supported with ample evidence or quotations from the text that support the points that you're making in your paper. We'll talk in more detail about how to develop body paragraphs, but this will help you understand why you're going to have to identify subtopics for your outline coming up. Okay, so the reason why I'm going over the structure is because you need this structure to think about when you create your outline, because you're basically creating the skeleton of this this week. And then next week we start writing. Your conclusion, which is talked about on pages 243 to 246, this is where you're going to tell us how you've proven your thesis. You're going to tell us what the readers gain by reading your paper. And then you're going to tell us how your paper relates to a larger purpose. And we will do a whole week focused on the conclusion. So the outline is how you prepare to write your paper. Your assignment is to create an outline where you list at least 3 subtopics. These are topics within your topic that you're going to talk about as a way to prove your thesis or answer your research question. These are issues that you look at as a way to prove your position statement and the sources that you'll use to support your claims. If you look at pages 219 to 225 in the Bedford Researcher, there's great information on how to create an outline, and that is required reading for this week. Your outline should look like the ones that are found on page 224, except at the top, you should list your research question, okay? You wrote a research question last week. Hopefully you got it nice and focused. If you don't feel like it's focused enough, because you will be graded on it, and I'll expect you to have it nice and focused. Once you get your research question finalized, you're going to put it at the top of your outline, okay? And your outline will be in MLA format, and I'll tell you about that in a second. Then you're going to give us your subtopic 1, and you're going to give us a description of that subtopic. You're going to write in full sentences for your outline. Then you're going to tell us one point that you're going to make about this topic in a sentence. And then you're going to tell us another point you're going to make about this topic with a sentence. Ideally, you'll also have a few sources that you'll put in here. This was just like giving yourself a map, so next week when we start writing, it's going to be really easy. You're going to do the same thing for subtopic number 2 and subtopic number 3. Everyone is required to have at least 3 subtopics. If right now you're freaking out and you're like, oh my God, I need help with my paper, you can set up an appointment. You can set up a scheduled appointment, or you can just drop into the Writing Center in room 832. Part of actually the writing process is you will have to make an appointment there and work on your paper at some point, but you can do it many times throughout the semester, and I highly recommend it. You can also get online tutoring. It's absolutely free, and it's really good. And here is the information on how to log in. Also, as I say, every week you can come visit me in office hours or set up a phone call conference as a time to talk about your paper. So here's the details. Your outline will be in MLA format just like everything else in this class. So you will put on the left-hand side, you'll have your left-hand header, and on the right-hand side, you'll have your right-hand header. And then you'll say outline, right? And then you're going to give us a clear research question, right, at the very top. Then beneath it, you're going to make an outline that looks like this outline here, okay? Subtopic, full sentences, a description of the subtopic. Point 1, you're going to make about that subtopic. Point 2, you're going to make about that subtopic, okay? You need 3 subtopics and at least 2 points made about each subtopic, and everything is written in full sentences. This is due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. on St. Patrick's Day. 25 points. Skip the slide. This is from last week. I apologize that it's still here. It will be removed from the actual, from the slides that I post. Sorry about that. So the last thing you're going to be doing this week is Module 9, and this is evaluating the credibility and appropriateness of sources. You'll click through these pages. What is an appropriate source? It's really good information on how to choose, the right kind of sources for your research project. You're going to do a real quick reading in the Bedford Researcher in Chapter 5, and then you're going to learn about the CRAP test. Yep, it's called the CRAP test. About how it's a way to look at sources to evaluate them, but they call it the CRAP test. Then you'll watch a video on reading critically about student writers, and then at the end you take your quiz just like usual, okay? And it's due by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday. That's it, guys. Keep up the good work. It's great to see so many of you active. Don't forget to watch this lecture, all right? Hopefully if you've gotten to this point, you know it. I'm so impressed. Please do send me an email and say, hey, I watched the lecture. I can't wait to go to the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum. And remember, if you want that 10 points, it's yours. You just have to go and send me an email about your experience, okay? And show me, maybe send me a picture that shows you at the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum, okay? That's it. I'll see you guys online. Just let me know if you have any questions.